Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more legacy action. Today we're going to be playing a deck called Hammer Time, which is quite a popular deck I hear in Modern, but a few people have been putting up numbers with it on legacy leagues, so I thought I'd have a go. So what is this deck and what does it aim to do? Essentially, you want to play Sigarda's Aid, which lets you equip equipments for free, and so does the Pure Steel Paladin, and then you want to play this card called Colossus Hammer. Let's put it over here so you can have a look. It gives a creature +10/+10. Now, that's quite a lot. So obviously, the equip 8, you get to ignore that. So effectively, you're getting 8 mana's worth of equipment on that if you attach it for free. So basically, we're making a guy and then hitting them very hard with that guy. You can hit them on turn... Well, you can kill them on turn 2 if you have the Ornithopter and Mox Opal hand. But then you also have options like Inkmoth Nexus, so you can then just hit them for 10 poison, so life totals don't matter. We also have Esper Sentinels, just sort of good little guys. So I've looked at a few lists, and I really like the Stoneforge package, but some people weren't running Cauldron Complete, and I think that's just a free win in some games, so I wanted to make sure I put that in. And also, some lists were running Ingenious Smith, and if you've been watching the channel, you know I quite like that guy, but I thought I'd rather go have a little bit more protection for the guys we do have. So I've upped my Mother of Runes count to 3. Other than that, it's not particularly revelationary what I've done here. You know, we still got the 4 rares of Sagas, we got a bunch of Plains, and Karakas, and Ancient Dens. So it's all relatively straightforward, this deck. Sideboard-wise, I've decided that what I want to do is have a lot of cards for specific matchups. So if you want to deal with graveyard decks, we've got 4 Lane and the Void. Because this deck's sort of a bit combo-y, the idea is having this will buy you enough turns if it's in your opening hand. And because you don't need that many cards to win the game necessarily, you can mulligan a bit for this. Whereas some other decks that require a critical mass of resources, something like Ad Nauseam Tendrils or something like that, you actually are a lot more able to play things like this. Swords to Plowshares, if you need to kill creatures, you need to kill creatures. Deafening Silence, Storm decks exist. I want to shut them down. And then we have March of Otherworldly Light, because it looks to me like Chalice is going to be very good against this deck. So I just wanted 4 answers to Chalice that I can stick in this deck, basically. Other than that, I think that's about it. So let's jump into a league and see how we do. We're into round 1 and we won the die roll, so that's nice. And this is our opening hand, so we don't really have a turn 1 play in a deck that has a lot of turn 1 plays. But we can play out Stoneforge Mystic and then get Stoneforge Mystic online on turn 2, or we can play a Pure Steel into Jitte. This hand seems very slow to me, and I think we could probably mulligan and get a similar hand without a Mox Opal, and it would basically be the same. So there's a lot of 6-card hands that look the same as this, so I'm going to mulligan. This hand is a little bit better, I think. So we both have 2 of these, which is what we want. So we'll click keep first. We have to put one of these on the bottom. I think where we have to keep both our lands. The Pure Steel Paladin is going to be a little bit tricky to cast at first, but we do have a Mox Opal to help that if we want to keep it. I think the Nettlecyst is the one that goes back. The Sigarda's Aid is going to allow us to Colossus Hammer, so I think we put the Nettlecyst back. So this is kind of similar to the hand we had the first time, but we also have a land that does things as well. So I think we'll play out the basic Plains and play out the Sigarda's Aid. So our opponent is going to know exactly what we're up to now. Rebels. Don't see that every day. Do we want the Stoneforge Mystic this turn? I think the Stoneforge Mystic is probably where we want to be. So we'll play out the Azure Saga. So we have options here. If they're a creature deck, then the Umezawa's Jitte is going to be incredible here. We can just go for the Cauldron Complete or the Colossus Hammer and provide a really, really strong clock. But we don't have a lot of ways of dealing with what our opponent's doing. So I am going to go for the Jitte here. We don't need to play out the Opal this turn. This could be the Rebels Still deck that I've seen pop up on... I can't remember whose stream it was, but somebody was playing it. Yeah, so this looks like that's what it might be. Training ground. So now we can play out this and play out our Mox Opal. If we play this out, then this will automatically equip, and then we'll have a Pure Steel Paladin to cast. Now the question is, do I think they have a counterspell in hand? I think the upside of casting the Jitte here is too strong. Because if we can attack with it and get counters on it from this turn, we're basically doing fine. Okay, so they have a Solitude. That's a bit of a shame. But we can still play out the Pure Steel Paladin here. So this can pick up a Colossus Hammer and a Jitte here. We're going to put the Jitte on it in the second main phase. This could eat a Source to Plowshares, which would be annoying. But okay, so we have a creature with a Jitte on against the deck that's looking to make creatures. This just searches out another guy. Sure. So on our next turn, we're going to make a token, and we're going to fetch a Colossus Hammer, put it onto our Pure Steel Paladin, and attack for 12. Draw a card in Pure Steel Paladin. Sure. So this is quite nice as well. It means future hammers are pretty good for me. I don't know what rebels they can get here. There's an option of diversifying my threats here. Bound in Silence. Okay. Sure. Play this out. Don't really have any other options here, but next turn we can attack for lethal poison damage. Quite a peculiar little deck my opponent has here. I assume they're just going to be able to find these pacifism effects repeatedly. So a Mother of Ruins would be relatively useful to pick up here. But every turn that goes by, because they have this setup, they're going to be accruing a lot of value. I think we need to draw some cards as well here. And we can cast this Colossus Hammer. So I'm hoping to hit a land so I can activate the Nexus this turn. So we did draw a mana source. But we also get to draw. Okay, we drew another mana source of the same kind. For white, I'd like it to become a creature. Equip 0 onto this. Equip 0 onto this. So it's trying to diversify our threats a little bit here. Let's see how many things they have. So I'm working on the assumption they can only get one pacifism effect here. So they presumably have to put their Falcon under the bus here. My knowledge of rebels is very, very, very low, so I have no idea what sort of things I can come to expect from this deck. Lin Civi. So this is just X. So this can search for any of the rebels. Whip Corder. Sure, I remember this one. None of what they're doing appears to be legacy power levels, but who am I to talk playing a modern deck in legacy? Okay, so we have a Pure Steel Paladin. Animate this using this. Colossus Hammer on it. Put a Jitte on this one. Then we will attack with my guys, hopefully. So from next turn it gets a bit awkward because I'm going to have all my guys tapped down. So I'm going to have to play out the Pure Steel Paladin. I have a Colossus Hammer I didn't even equip to my guy there. This, I think. Because this doesn't have flying because of Colossus Hammer, so anything can block it. But what it does mean is I get counters on Jitte. We can take down a Whip Corder, or we can take down this. We have options of things we can do. Just to this. Yes. And I'm going to equip this to this. Then we say go. I don't really know which ones to kill. I kind of need to get a little bit more, because obviously Lin Civi can get anything, so I can get more counters on the Jitte. That would be good. Yeah, this definitely should have had a hammer on it last turn. That was just my mistake. It was down in my land section and my brain just passed over it. But here we are. We're going to get rid of the Whip Corder so they can't tap my guys down. Have we got a way of saving it probably? Again, I have no idea what rebels exist anywhere. Mirror Entity. Oh, they have the training grounds, of course it saves it, yes. Okay, this is a weird deck. My opponent's on an interesting one. Play Stoneforge Mystic. What works here? So the Caudal Complete is actually a threat, which I think is what we're going to actually need here, because they're going to slowly run us out of abilities to attack with things. And then we go to attacks, and they tap our guy down and maybe get another one of these pacifisms. Sure, the Whip Corder taps down the one with the Jitte. It's unfortunate, but it's going to happen. I have the option of putting the Jitte on one and 2 hammers on the other. And take 12 there. Probably should have put the... So yeah, so they're just going to have lethal damage here, aren't they? And they can make these guys huge. It's a weird little deck my opponent's got here. It's interesting. If I keep my guys back, I just get one tap down, and then I get the other one tapped down, and then they kill me anyway. Sure. Okay, so I don't think my opponent's deck looks particularly great, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think I should be able to pick it apart with just a Swords to Plowshares. It doesn't look like they're going to have any sort of chalice-y type things, but what I can do is I can always board in these because these also remove creatures, and their creatures are relatively cheap. So I have these options. The Sword of Fire and Ice is going to be able to ping stuff down, which is nice. The Nettle Cyst isn't really where I want to be here. The Pithing Needle seems good. There's a lot of things. Retrofitter's Foundry is going to give me lots of threats to keep going through. The Mother of Runes seems okay. Like, I think just having a Swords to Plowshare is going to do the similar sort of thing to the Mother of Runes in a lot of these games. So that gets us the Swords to Plowshares. Now, do we want to trim anything else? I do think removal is just going to be better than Pithing Needle here. So at the moment, that's where we stand. I don't know if we can really trim any of the other things, because all these things, like the Esper Sentinel, is pretty medium, but it is a 1-mana body, which can hold weapons. Let's trim that for 1 March for the World Light. So I've got 6 removal spells, and I've got some equipment that functions like removal spells. Shadow Spear, they're kind of dealing with my guys more than anything, so I think we'll just get rid of the Shadow Spear as well. We can gain life off of the Jit if it's necessary. I think this is what we're going to go with. So this is our opening hand. Turn 1, Sagada's Aid. Turn 2, if I draw an artifact land or a 0-drop, I can put a hammer into play and beat down for 10 on turn 2. That seems fine to me. So we'll play this. Play this. Play this. And I think we'll play this out as well. So if we draw an Ancient Den, for example, we can make a hammer next turn and equip it and attack. Pithing Needle. Sure. What is this going to name? Colossal Hammer, I think. It could name Stoneforge Mystic to stop me going through the Cauldron plan. Or it could name Jit to stop me removing counters from that if that's the angle I want to go. Umazawa's Jitte. Sure. This doesn't provide me an artifact this turn. So if I play Stoneforge Mystic off of this, next turn, yes, I'll have 1, 2. So I have these 2 mana for this, and I have a 3rd mana if I want to activate something. I think this just gives me nicer options if I play this one out. So when I cast this, I have options here of what to get. I think I'm going to get the Sword of Fire and Ice, because that's another removal spell. And it's also going to draw me into other removal spells. So I think that's where I want to be. We can't cast any other spells now. So because we don't think they're a counter spell deck, we can attack with 2 creatures and put the Sword of Fire and Ice in for 3 mana. But it looks like they're probably holding up Swords to Plowshares here. That would be my assumption. Or some sort of removal spell. Sure, so we have the Saga ticking up. So we can put the Sword of Fire and Ice into play off of this, which turns on my Mox Opal. Or we can just try and make additional creatures this turn. We can put them to the test of the Sword of Fire and Ice. I think I might actually just be better off getting more things to hold it. And it kind of blanks what they're doing with their turn as well. Sure, I think I'm just going to pass through the turn. Now, if they're holding up removal, the best way to play around it is to activate my Urza Saga. Cathar Commando. Okay, there's a pretty good reason why. So next time I can get the Pithing Needle and then put the Sword of Fire and Ice in. Sure. It's been an interesting game for 2 white decks, just bumping heads at each other. Lyn Civi. So that's something I can't kill with Sword of Fire and Ice, which is important to note. So I can... They haven't got the mana up for the Cathar Commando, which is interesting to me. So at their end step, we're going to make a guy. So then this turn we're going to put a Pithing Needle on this. Let's make sure I've done the maths right on this one. So if we make a token here, we'll get enough land to then put this in play. Yeah, sure. So we're going to make a token. Alright, so we're going to get the pithing needle that we boarded out, didn't we? I just remembered that we've done that. Sure. So what is the plan here? If we get retrofits foundry, we can keep popping out things. If we just play the hammer though, and we're going to put it on the non-summoning sick construct token, and we're going to probably use the Caracas to bounce the Lin Civi here. Okay, so that is Solitude. Interesting. It's a case of one turn with Lin Civi versus getting my Sword of Fire and Ice online. They could have another Solitude, I suppose. We'll play this out so they don't know about the... Yeah, this way they won't know about the Caracas. Let's kill their guy. That's not a rebel, is it? No. Okay. This isn't free to equip because I don't have a pure steel paladin. But I think we're doing alright here. We can Caracas away the Lin Civi. So they have to get whatever spell they want first up, really. So if they get a thing that goes on one of my guys, I can then move stuff around if needs be. Caracas. So let's see what they get. Sure, so there's the pacifism that we were expecting. We're 1 mana shy of just killing them with Stoneforge Mystic here. So we can re-equip the... if we equip this to the Stoneforge. If we pay with these... So they're taking quite a bit of damage there. And then we can play out this Stoneforge Mystic. And we can get the Colossus Hammer and get Lethal Infect next turn, so they've conceded. So we'll have them on Lethal Damage and Infect. Back to sideboard. So I wanted to fetch a Pithing Needle at one point in that game. I didn't have a Pithing Needle. So I'm going to bring in this Pithing Needle and take out one of my many hammers. And I think that's where we want to be. We've got loads of removal spells. We've got Pithing Needle. I think we're all good here. So I have part of what I want to do here. And this can go and get a hammer. So I think we still keep this. Yeah, the Saga is going to be a bit slow getting me a hammer because I need white for this. Sure. But I could always play the Urza Saga out now. But then next turn I want to start making tokens anyway. So I think we're just going to play out the Pure Steel Paladin. And we're not going second to first striker. So we're going to play out the Saga and start dealing with things. If they play a rebel that can tutor for stuff, I can then play out the Pithing Needle. So I can play out the other paladin as well to make sure I'm getting many equipments. Many cards when I play an equipment eventually. Defiant Falcon. Sure. Okay. So we want to play out our Urza Saga. Now we probably have to deal with the Falcon here first, so we'll play out this. We'll name Defiant Falcon with it. Not sure Defiant Falcon has been named with a Pithing Needle many times in the history of Magic the Gathering. So we'll play out this. So if they play a Training Ground, they got to pay a lot of mana to, or I get some cards. Next time we start making big guys. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 power, and then 5. And then the turn after that, we get a Colossus Hammer, and we stick it on a guy, and we swing for the fences. This might have been the bait rebel, Cathar Commando. Sure, that's pretty good. They're going to immediately pop it. They are, sure. So that stops me getting the hammer in a couple of turns. It's a pretty good play. Sure, I'll take it. This guy can attack. Sure. So I need 4 mana to activate this one. Children of Corliss. Interesting. So if I can hit them in a lethal swing, they don't get to activate that anyway. A Source of Plowshares is very good for me. Yes, I'll say okay to this. We'll play out this. So they can't attack anymore. Do I need to Source the Plowshares this Rebel? So this gets the... I think I'd rather just have the guy at this point. Sure. Training grounds. So let's see what they do with their Esper Sentinel triggers. So let me have a card. Let me have another card. So this doesn't activate these guys yet. Because these are 4 and this makes it cost 2 less. They still need another mana. And I'm pretty sure the Training Grounds is the card they drew for the turn. So I'm just going to let this go this turn. Then we make this. We untap. And then we can make this token and still Source the Plowshares. It seems good to me. So we can just get the Pithing Needle here and save the Source to Plowshares. I don't hate that as a play. Well, we've already played the Pithing Needle, haven't we? Sorry, what am I talking about? So we get the hammer here. And we draw some cards. And then we play our planes. We Source Plowshares targeting the one that's not Pithing Needled. It costs 4 to activate. Okay, I did do the correct maths. Equip this one to one of the Pure Steel Paladins. Oh, I haven't got a lot of time left on the clock. I've just seen that. Oh dear. Let's get Wiggle on. Okay, so we have a Solitude. We just need to pass. We need to make sure that we can win this game with the time left on the round, because I've been very slow playing this quick combo deck. That's what happens when you haven't played a deck before. You have to do a lot of reading. So this is probably going to name Colossus Hammer. But I'm just drawing so many cards now that I don't think I can lose this game unless it's by the clock. Colossus Hammer, sure. So then they're going to kill my Colossus, oh no, sure. So we play this Sigarda's Aid. And then when we play the Colossus Hammer, it'll automatically equip, so I don't have to worry about that. And this is going to target this guy. Yes. 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 So this will cost me 1 to play, which is a little bit annoying. I've already played land for 10, so we go to attacks. 3 large men coming in. So they're going to take this, and then they're going to Children of Corliss away. Cast this. Might as well stock up the mana for next turn. You've got to have something pretty good to win. Sure, so we won the match. Very peculiar matchup, and I'm sorry I was quite slow playing it, but had quite a lot of fun. Alright, next game. Alright, so we're into the next round. I won the die roll, which is nice. What does this opening hand do? It gives me a poison win on turn 3 with Mother of Runes, if I've worked that out right. So we're going to keep this hand. So we play this out. We have to play this one out first. Then turn 2 play that. And turn 3, no. So we have to play out the Mother of Runes first. Otherwise we don't have all of the things. We'll cast this. And we'll cast this as well. Wasteland when I'm ahead on board is interesting to me. I'm not massively ahead on board, of course, but let's play out this. Play out this Mox Opal, which isn't quite live yet. And then we have to ship the turn. So we play this, and if we need white mana, we can activate this. Because then that gives us enough artifacts to play this out. So they need a wasteland to stop themselves from dying. Maze of Ith is a pretty good one. Can I deal with the Maze of Ith? Interesting. I can Pithing Needle it, but then I'm not getting my Colossus Hammer, which is the kind of thing that I was actually looking for here. So we have a choice. So we can't actually make a token off of this because we don't have 3 artifacts yet. So I'm going to float a mana. So if we give the Inkmoth Nexus the hammer, then it's just going to get Maze of Ith, and then the hammer's going to fall off. So it's not very good mana efficient play. So we have to get the hammer here. Stick on the Ornithopter. And play this out. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we can cast this for white. And then we force our opponent to Maze of Ith every turn until we draw a threat. Until we draw another way of turning something into a threat. Our opponent is probably... there's a lot of options they could be, but I'm guessing there's some sort of 8 mulch style deck. That would make sense with what they've been playing so far. So if they cast a mulch here, at least they draw a card. Or a Life from the Lame, sure. Sigarda's Aid, not what I need right now. Stoneforge Mystic, on the other hand, is a pretty good one. This can give me 2 big threats here. So I'm definitely in the market for that. So we go and get the Colossus Hammer here. Cast a Colossus Hammer. We stick on the Nettle Sentinel, not the Esper Sentinel, sorry. Which means that they have to pay 11 mana to stop me drawing cards. Okay. I have to deal with my guys this turn. Or kill me, which is also something they might be... Well, or make enough blockers that they can get around. So if they have like a Mox Diamond, so not a Mox Diamond, a Mana Bond, they could have dumped all their hand. But sure, they're going to wasteland my... I think it doesn't really matter here. So they could crop rotation into something here. Let's see what I draw. A Pure Steel Paladin. That doesn't really do a great deal here. I think we just go to attacks. Take crop rotation in my turn, then I get to draw off F Sentinel again. Sure. I'll have another card, please. Sure, I'll have a land. That's nice. Glacial Chasm. No, another Maze of Ith. Sure. That's a little bit sad. What we get to do here is tap this for white, play this, keep this one, tap this for white, play a Pure Steel Paladin, activate, play this, and we say go. Just holding up Mother of Runes. A wasteland. Sure. Sigarda's Aid. That's not really the one, is it? I'll play this Plains though. I'll turn this into a creature. I'll go to attacks. May as well attack with all the things. So taking at least 3 this turn. Sure, okay, so they've thrown the towel in, so we get to go to sideboarding. So they look quite landsy, whether that's 8 mulch or traditional lands, or, you know, possibly could even be a really... The second Maze of Ith makes me think it's not the green-white depths deck. So, what is going to be good against them? Land of the Void can shut off their Life from the Loam engine, which is one of their more powerful things they can do. Aside from that, we're probably going to want to be able to blow up artifacts or enchantments because they're going to have some sort of nonsense I have to worry about. And the question is, do I think this is better than... I think their Life from the Loam plan is actually quite slow against us, so I don't think this is a realistic strategy for them. This isn't going to be an Umezawa's Jitte game. The Pithing Needle was going to be good here. The Retrofitter's Foundry can help me go wide, but I don't think I'm going to have the mana to really use it, so I don't think this is where I want to be. The Shadow Spear allows me to get round chumps if they're going to keep putting out loads of 2/2 zombies off their Field of the Dead if they get a fast start. So I think the Shadow Spear is probably fine. I'm not convinced about Nettle Cyst and Sword of Ice and Fire. How do I feel about Sword of Ice and Fire? It does draw me a lot of cards. It also gives protection from red, so things like punishing fire won't be able to kill my guys. Obviously, a lot of equipment's going to have that same added bonus to it. So it's a case of if I'm trimming something, what am I trimming here? I think the Mox Opal, can we shave a Mox Opal here? I think we can shave a Mox Opal and see how this goes. Because we kind of want the Ornithopter just so we can get a really fast start again. We're going to go with this configuration. So my opening hand, it can blow up hate pieces, it can draw me cards down the line, but that might be a while. I also have a Pithing Needle, so I can disrupt some of their action. But I can get a 6-card hand that's exactly the same as this, so I'm going to mulligan. This hand is a faster one for sure, so I'm going to keep this. The question is, what do we bottom here? So we can play Ornithopter Sigarda's Aid on turn 1, and then Colossus Hammer on turn 2. So I think we probably bottom the Esper Sentinel, because we kind of need both of our engines here. So I think we're going to, just in case this doesn't work. Sure, Exploration. So that's one of their dream starts. If they're lands rather than 8 mulch, that is the best start they can have. Okay, so we can play this out. Play out the Sigarda's Aid. Play out the Ornithopter. So they could Force of Vigor me here, which would be very good. Now, there's an option of whether or not I play the Pure Steel Paladin and get some value off of my equipment first, but I think we'll have to see what our opponent's doing. Because we're probably... Oh no, they're not Rished importing us. Valakut Exploration. Okay, this is an interesting one. So what we can do on this turn is we can either play the Pure Steel Paladin or we can bash for 11 lifelink damage. And there is a Force of Vigor in their graveyard. So I think, given what they've got going on, I think we probably just want to go fast here. Big Ornithopter. So they've got one more draw step to deal with this. I feel like putting them to the test is what I want to do here. They get a redraw with Valk Exploration if it's a land, which is the most common card in their deck, so it's a wasteland, so they lose the game. Okay, that was showcasing the combo side of the game, and that's a turn 3 goldfish. So yeah, pretty happy with that one. So we're 2-0, so we're going to go into the next round. So this is my opening hand. It does things, that's for sure. We're pretty vulnerable to wasteland here. We do have a lot of sources that can pull us out of this, but we can play Esper Sentinel off of a Caracas. So we can play something that doesn't look like a Sigarda's A deck, I think. So we're going to keep this. And we're on the draw here, though. So we got more chances to hit planes. But we're going to play like a sort of Death and Taxes game to begin with. So we're going to go Esper Sentinel into Stoneforge Mystic. We're not going to get the Cauldron because we have it in hand, which can also trick our opponent. Sure. Start with Caracas. We'll play out the Esper Sentinel. So now we're taxing all of their plays slightly, which could hopefully draw us into a plains. It should be the ideal. Okay. So we have to play out as a Saga. I suspect the Stoneforge Mystic will get a counter spell. Unless they have the prismatic ending for it. So the jig will be up a little bit when I go and get something. So I'm probably going to get Sword of Fire and Ice, which is probably going to confuse them a little bit. Obviously, depends if this resolves. Okay, so Stoneforge resolved. So we're going to get a Sword of Fire and Ice. Which hopefully they'll just think it's a sort of caveat to Delver. This could go and get a Tropical Island and play a Snake to trade with my Esper Sentinel. So I have no interest in attacking with my Esper Sentinel. This is more valuable right now than having 1 damage on our opponent. Okay, it wasn't a Tropical Island. Doesn't mean they don't have Tropical Islands in. Wizard Cycling. Cephalid. Okay, so this is the Cephalid Breakfast deck, which is going to be interesting because I'm not really going to have any interaction with them game 1. So I might need to pick up the pace a little bit. Am I going to get a card off of this? No. Sure. But it means they're not going to have a Source to Plowshares up on my turn unless I draw a land here. I really want to draw a land on my next turn. That would be the ideal. We drew the land. Excellent. So we have choices here. Then we're just going to activate this. And put in the Cauldron. And then we're going to attack and play the Sigarda's A, so this can get me a hammer. So this should effectively represent lethal. They'll know what I'm doing now, but I think I have to make sure I can actually kill them on the next turn because they're a combo deck. What do they pitch to the Force of Will? Cephalid Illusionist. Okay, that's good for us. And are we going to get a card or are they going to fetch? Okay, so we got another card out of it as well. I'll take that. So this is probably not going to be getting a Colossus Hammer anymore. But what they don't know is that I have a Pure Steel Paladin. So I can still get the Colossus Hammer. I can make 3 lethal... I can make 2 lethal threats next turn. And the other one is going to be doing half of their life total. So we don't have any plays on their turns. We just pass through their turn. So they have their own Stoneforge Mystic. Sure. Is this going to get the Shuko or is it going to get the Cauldron Complete? So against Shuko, so they're trying to combo. They're casting the Shuko. Interesting. Are they going to pay? They are going to pay. Okay, so they have to have Solitude here, I think. No, that's not strictly speaking true, is it? This has Trample. So we're going to float a mana off of this. So we get the Colossus Hammer here. And we play out. And we go for white. White for the Pure Steel Paladin. If this resolves, it's lights out. So we equip this. We play this out. I would very much like to draw an extra card. Ornithopter. Does that change anything? No. So equip this. So we can equip it to the big trampler. So they just can't deal with it. But again, Solitude is a card. Okay, sure, they didn't have the Solitude. Excellent. So, sideboarding. Our opponent is attempting to assemble a combo involving creatures. But just killing their creatures is probably nice to do. So they can mill their whole library and then take a turn off and then kill me with the Dread Return. Or they can do it end of turn. So I don't think Deafening Silence is going to work here. Lane on the Void stops their combo. But it's also not great against the rest of their deck. Whereas Source of Plowshares is always going to come in handy. So Source of Plowshares is definitely something we want. Pithing Needle can stop the combo. Is Retrofitter's Foundry something we want to be dealing with here? I'm not entirely convinced that I want to be spending my time doing this. And the Nettle Cyst is also a little bit anemic. The Jitte is very good at disrupting what they're doing, combo-wise. The Shadow Spear, they do have the ability to field a lot of guys. So being able to trample through them is not the worst. But obviously the deck is very tight. Ornithopter allows me to go fast. I think we can trim a Mox Opal. The Esper Sentinel is very good here. Mother of Runes is very good here. We can probably trim... Can we trim a hammer? I think we can probably trim... a hammer. Let's try this. That could... is that wrong? Should I be trimming an Ornithopter or a hammer? I'm trimming an Ornithopter. This is our opening hand. It disrupts their combo a little bit and is good if I have certain other pieces, but I'm going to need to draw a White Source and a Pure Steel Paladin or whatever, so this is no good. We're going to mulligan. This hand has only one land, which is a bit of an issue for me. But I'm on the draw. I have a 1-drop and a 0-drop and a swords, so I'm going to keep this because the odds are stacked in my favour of drawing a land before I need it. By turn 2. And we can put the Coldra on the bottom and then we can cheer it up or whatever. Let's see if this lowly 1-drop gets a Force of Will. So we'll play out the Ornithopter in case we feel like doing something silly. If we draw something good, whatever. So we have no plays, we just have to have 6. Okay. Cephalid Illusionist. Okay, so I'm priced into... So I want to cast this on their turn because of Force of Negation. Am I okay... What do I want to do with my Nettle Sentinel? My Esper Sentinel. Would I trade it for a Cephalid Illusionist? If I attack and they trade, it means they don't have the combo. If I attack and they trade, it means they do have the combo. So they're not going to block, and I don't think the 1 point of damage is important. They're only going to block if they have redundant copies. So there's no point me doing this. So we can swords in their upkeep, or we can wait until they try and do something with it. If not, we'll just swords at end of turn. Right, it's possible they can go off this turn. So they can hardcast the Force of Negation this turn. But I'm not priced into Swords to Plowsharing their creature just yet. Cephalid Illusionist. Okay, so now they have 2. So they definitely would have blocked with my Esper Sentinel. This becomes a problem for me if they have the Nomads. So they're going to do it second main phase? No. So if I swords this one now, then I don't... The only way I can get this off the board is with another swords. If I attack with this, they might block. If I draw another swords, it's going to make that play look bad. But I think I have to play to what's in my hand. Sure. Sure, they haven't blocked. So I think we're probably going to lose this game because we've missed land drops for too many turns now. So this can get Shuko. So we're on a clock here. Since they're not blocking, I think we make this play now. Oh, we milled the Shuko. That's good. I don't know how many Shukos they play. So I can either hold open a Swords to Plowshares that I don't have, but they didn't have it last turn, so I think I'm better off just casting the Esper Sentinel now and forcing double pays on their side. I can, Snapcaster Mage here. I haven't seen any Hull Breaches in the Cephalid Illusionist decks yet, so I'm not expecting that. So yeah, so they probably have more than one Shuko in their deck, but on the off chance they only have the one, then because they do have 8 tutors for it, so they might only have one in it in their deck. But I guess we'll find out next turn. We need to draw a removal spell for the Illusionist. Okay, so we finally found another land. I guess if they have it, they have it. I can't really do anything about that. As we cast this, we have to play if they don't have it. Have another Shuko in their deck. Bazaar was Jitte. So if we do get another turn, we can't attack into this because they're going to make a... No, they make a 1-1. Do I care about... It's not worth trading my guys off, I don't think. I guess I could always... No, but by the time I get any chance to do anything off of cards I may draw for Esper Sentinel, they should be able to mill their whole deck. So... Let's see if they got a second Shuko in their deck. Let's hope that they don't. They definitely do. Okay, so they can mill out their whole deck. Because my clock is lower than theirs, I'm going to let them play it out so I can also see their sideboarding in. Let's have a look. So they got Wizard Cycling. There's one of the Narcomoebas. So they kept Prismatic. So they got Prismatic Ending to Ferry. It's very nice that my opponents let me see their whole deck. Obviously, they don't have a choice because I'm not conceding until I've seen their whole deck. Dread Return. Serenity. 2 Serenities is pretty good to know. That makes me want to play the March of Otherworldly Light. Sure. So that's some important information we've got there. You carry on. You're not going to see anything that's going to give you any weird information. You can take what you like. Let me just see the rest of your sideboarding. How many of these am I playing through? We've got 2 Shukos in total, is it? Sure. So we got to see... So there is 1 Prismatic Ending, 2, 3... So we got 4 Prismatic Endings and the 2 Serenities. Sure. That's good information to have. So that makes me want to play these so I don't get blown out by the... Oh, what's it called? I don't think this is going to be an Ornithopter game. I don't want to get blown out by the Serenity here. It's obviously boarding out the Ornithopters makes me better against Serenity anyway. So you have the Sigarda's Aid. So we've got a lot of reactive spells in here. So there's definitely an argument that science can go too far sometimes. They didn't have a lot of removal though. They just had the 4 Prismatic Endings. So I think we can trim a Mother of Runes. Now, does that leave us really light on creatures is the only option? Because we're boarding out 4 of our creatures. Well, 6 of our creatures perhaps. So that's probably too many. So I think we can't really do that. I don't think we want to Shadow Spear. So let's have a Mother of Runes back in for that. The Pithing Needle can hit Nomads or it can hit Shuko. Obviously I have to know the right one. I could always just board into the Ley Lines instead, but I think this will deal with the things they're bringing in for me as well as their combo. There is a possibility of just cutting another Mox for a Ornithopter, just for another creature. It's a 22 land deck, so it's not... You should be able to hit 2 land drops very easily, really. We're going to submit like this. So our opening hand does not have a second land in. It has Mother of Runes, it has Sigarda's Aid, has Pure Steel Paladin, but it is missing land. I'm going to mulligan, I think. So this hand is just a Cauldron hand with the Swords to Plowshares backup. That's probably okay. We put the Cauldron back into the deck. The Colossus Hammer is obviously good with the Pure Steel, so we're going to keep this, and then we're going to say done. And we're going to play out the planes there. I'm not convinced this is a hand that's great, and I'm not sure I've sideboarded that effectively. It's a tricky one because I'm kind of trying to play against the things they have as well as try and achieve my own ends, which is always a tricky thing to do in a combo deck. Because if you board out too much, you can disrupt your main plan. Like, we still have the Stoneforge Mystic Cauldron plan, which is fine. So I'm going to play this out. Do we get to have a Stoneforge Mystic? Yes, we do. So we're going to get Cauldron complete. So they can Prismatic Ending the Germ, but then I can play the Pure Steel Paladin and equip. And then that's pretty good for me. We don't have many plays, so we're F6 a turn. He's going to play the Illusionist. If they do, it means I have to use my Source of Plowshares. No, they're just Prismatic Ending that guy. Okay, sure. So we have two choices. If we can play the Pure Steel, we can play the Esper Sentinel. I think we're just going to play the Pure Steel out. And then pass the turn. Then next turn we can Esper Sentinel, Colossus Hammer. And then we draw off every card they play. Obviously, what they could Teferi this turn would be pretty good. Bounce my guy. Set me back a turn. Nomads. They got the Sephiroth Illusionist. Sure, they just had the turn 3 nuts. Not much I can do about that, I'm afraid. Sometimes your opponent just has it. Like if I played the Esper Sentinel there and held up the Swords to Plowshares, maybe they get me anyway. They've got Dazers in their deck as well. So, sure. Okay, so that's 2 and 1. We got out-comboed by a combo deck with blue in, which certainly happens every now and then. All right, on to the next round. So this is my opening hand this round. Seems good. We can turn 3 attack with a Sword of Fire and Ice. We've got a little bit of Prison-y pieces. And we can Urza Saga in Moth Nexus as well. So we're going to keep this. We do need to draw planes for the Pure Steel Paladin, which is the one slight wrinkle in the plan. But I have faith. I have faith in the deck. It's been fun and it's been good so far. So you got to trust. And if not, we still get to make Urza Saga tokens. I guess it doesn't matter because they're going to get combos out on turn 1. Nope, they're just playing out the Lotus Petal. Somehow that makes it worse. I'm going to play this out. Play out Pure Steel Paladin. So my opponent is giving me Reanimator vibes because they mulliganed, which is something Reanimator decks do often, and they also had a Lotus Petal. Entomb, sure. Certainly confirming my Reanimator vibes. So they're going to get a Grizzlebrand this turn. They're going to put Grizzlebrand into play. This is why we have 4 ley lines on our sideboard. Dance of the Dead. Which one is this? Oh, that's a real essay, isn't it? It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Okay, so this is more combo-y oriented. Interesting. If they're going to clean up, do we have a chance of... What do we need here? Oh, they're dead on board. Because this is tapped. Well, they're not dead on... They don't know they're dead on board, I guess. Yes, I'd like to draw a card, please. We will equip this to this guy for free and attack. Sure. Okay. What do we see? World Gorger Dragon. Okay, so it's the World Gorger Dragon combo. Excellent. So we want 4 Leyline of the Voids. Do we want Deafening Silence is the question. Do we want to dilute our plan? Umazawa's Jitte is nothing here. This is nothing. This is nothing. The Nettle Sister is pretty slow. So this works out quite well. Do I think my opponent is going to give me any reason to use his Mother of Runes? I'm not convinced. So I want these Deafening Silences to slow them down instead of Mother of Runes. I guess we can try it and then we can reevaluate if we see their sideboard for game 3. So what does this hand do? I've got my turn 1 Deafening Silence, my turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic. And then I can... Yeah, so I play this on turn 2, so turn 4 they're dead. So turn 4 Goldfish with Deafening Silence. They've mulliganed to 4 cards. Of course it is. Play this out. We'll play a Deafening Silence. These two cards have been the other way around in my library. That have been real nice. Sure. So that's your spell for the turn. So now my spell for the turn is going to be a Stoneforge Mystic. So next turn we play Cauldron Complete. Or if we get the hammer, we attack them for 10 next turn. We attack them for 11 next turn. And then we attack them for lethal next turn. So this is... So next turn will be Cauldron. So it's the same either way, if I've done my maths right. Yeah, it's the same either way. So we'll get the Cauldron Complete. Like if I draw a Colossus Hammer, and if I got a Colossus Hammer this turn, I draw a Colossus Hammer next turn, it's still not enough because the Stoneforge is tapped. Piranha Marsh, their win condition. Okay. Is there any reason why I wouldn't just play another Ezra's Saga out here? Not that I can see. No, actually no, because I want to activate this, don't I? So I need to do this, and I also want to put in the Sagada's Aid as well. So go to combat, attack for 5, and then we'll play the Sagada's Aid. And then next turn they die to the Colossus Hammer. So this is the turn they have to win. If they've got it, they've got it. I bet they have. Hopefully, they have a Lotus Petal in hand as their land. Guess we add some counters. We make a guy. Sorry. We yield to this. Get Colossus Hammer. Equip it to this guy. Okay, sure. So my opponent hit the fail rate of their deck. I think the Deafening Silence definitely slowed them down because they could have been able to entomb earlier and things. But I think it was just a case of their deck failed there, which is what happens with combo decks sometimes. Excellent. So we are 3-1 going into the last round, so a nice 4-1 would be good. So on the plate for the final round, this is my opening hand. It's just a pretty fair Stoneforge Mystic hand, to be honest. It doesn't spark me with a great amount of joy, but we have double Stoneforge Mystic, so against some fairer decks I think we're alright, so I'm going to keep this. So we can get the Esper Sentinel in and maybe draw a card off of their first play. Elvish Reclaimer. Okay. Do we play the Caracas or do we play the Inkmoth Nexus here? If we play an Esper Sentinel out and then a Mox Opal, yes, that works, right? That gives us 3 artifacts. We play out this artifact. We play out this artifact. We play out this creature. Now, what do we get here? They have... It probably just has to be Cauldron here, right? Is it Cauldron or is it... I think it might be Jitte, actually. And then we can get Cauldron off the second one if we need. Yeah. They've got a creature in play that can shoot it for combos, so I don't really want any part of that. Like, we do have the Dark Depths down with this. But we can build up Jitte counters and then just stick them on a Inkmoth Nexus and win. Okay, so we're red, white, green. Interesting. So if we play out... I think we want to play out the Inkmoth Nexus in case we want to activate it sometime soon. I don't think they're a counterspell deck, and I would rather put this onto my Stoneforge Mystic. So we're going to play this out. Like, if they do have counterspells and they've got me, then sure. We'd like to equip this to our Stoneforge Mystic. So if we can get to deal combat damage here, we can kill their guy. This is going to be a Sagiri step, so I don't deal combat damage to it. Sure. That's a play. So we'll carry on. Might be getting to draw some cards there. We'll see. Okay. So we can't expect too much in the way of plays from them this turn because they're paying for my Mox Diamond. Paying for my Esper Sentinel triggers on their Mox Diamond, I should say. Alright. How are we looking? Our opponent's tanking about something. Maybe they're just trying to think which land they play. Okay, so next turn they can get the... So they can tap 2, turn this into a Maritage, which is obviously not great for me. So I kind of need to keep this. This can block Maritage. This can deal with Maritage. So I think our play here is to make Stoneforge Mystic. So if we get Shadow Spear, that'll buy us an additional turn in the face of Maritage. Shadow Spear will buy us 1 turn. Is that going to be as good as just getting a bigger thing? I'm not sure that's the case. So they've got Maritage on board, so I think we have to get the Shadow Spear so we can buy an additional combat step and draw the thing that lets us go off. So we go to attacks. It's forcing 1 damage through relevant here. It might end up being relevant. Just have to do this and get the Jitte. Yeah, so they're going to block, and they don't really care about this because they're just going to float it away. And this is going to be a 3/4, which is a bit of an issue. So they've got the Wasteland there. And they pump their guy. So you have some... So they can Wasteland the Nexus or the Caracas here. I'm not getting attacked by Maritilage's turn, so I can Stoneforge my Shadow Spear into play. Knight of the Reliquary. Sure, that's going to be a 5. Yep, 5/5. So they can attack me here. They chose not to attack me because they want to activate and get Dark Depths, I guess. Okay. So our opponent is mustering various things here. I think we're just dead, to be honest. I'm not really sure how we get around this. So if we equip, so the Jit can gain us life. We should have got the Cauldron complete. I think that was a mistake not to get the Cauldron complete. If we put the Shadow Spear on one of our guys, this will be a 2/3. I can pump it with this if I need to. It's a case of, is it worth getting counters on the Jitte? Probably. So this guy's going under the bus to get me some Jitte counters. We really need to draw some of our combo, really. I think for them they should be wastelanding my Inkmoth Nexus because this is colourless. So it's not something they can Sajiri step through. Yeah, this game looks not great for me, but post board I can bring in my March of Otherworldly Lights, which can get rid of a Maritage token and get rid of any of the other things they're bringing in probably. So yeah, so we're just letting this guy die. We could have pumped. We can minus now to kill this, but they can obviously manipulate what's going on. So I'd have to use all the counters to make my guy big enough. Then they sacrifice a land. So I just don't think it's worth doing. I think we are looking at hopefully an Inkmoth next. Okay, the Maze of Ith is means that we can't even win on their turn. Okay. Yeah, so we can't even fight past this. Mother of Runes is something that lets us block indefinitely with Inkmoth Nexus if that's a thing that we want to happen. Okay, we will equip this to the Esper Sentinel. So this turn they can sacrifice so many lands that I think attacking is a fool's errand. They're just going to make that 20/20. I can make the Maritage lose indestructible, but yeah, I definitely should have got the Cauldron complete earlier, and I could at least be applying pressure with it and putting some lifesteal on it and trying to get there. But obviously they got Maze of Ith in their deck, so it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle, this one. And they can tap their Maze of Ith for green, which is nice too. So if they've got another Wasteland in their deck, they can just rotate for a Wasteland and kill my Inkmoth Nexus. And there's nothing I can do about it. I can gain 2 life off of the Umezawa's Jitte and hope that I have some way of winning the game. But quite what that is in the face of Maze of Ith, I do not know. I'm not sure what they're trying to work out here because it seems pretty matter of fact. Okay, so they're jury stepping this guy. I see. So they're forcing me to block the Marit Lage's turn. I see, I see. So I can block this and gain some life and shrink that guy a little bit. Okay, so this makes me think they only have one wasteland in their deck. Unless they're just absolutely slow rolling it. Because they want to show me more. I don't know. I'm not really sure why they would slow roll it like that. There's a wasteland. Sure, so we're dead. And we can see the game. Okay, so we would like March of Otherworldly Lights and Swords to Plowshares here. I don't care enough about their graveyard. I don't think it's that sort of game. This Nettle Sisters come out a lot. Not convinced it's that great, to be honest. The Retrofitter's Foundry provides infinite colourless blockers for Marit Lage, so I'm down for that. Pithing Needle has a lot of targets. I don't actually think the Umazawa's Jitte is going to be great here, even though it was something I was leaning on that game. Ornithopters can block. Mother of Runes, they're going to have possibly Swords to Plowshares, but definitely prismatic endings, I would assume. I think we can pop out one of those because they're probably bringing in a load of stuff that messes with my artifacts and enchantments. So at the moment, we've got 3 spells in, and we really wanted more. We can trim a hammer and trim an ornithopter, so that gives us this pile. March of Otherworldly Light is an instant as well, so. And it's the exact same as Swords to Plowshares against Marit Lage, but it can also scale and hit different things. Do I want to do this and just propose a threat heavy, just be the person asking the questions rather than trying to mitigate things? I think a lot of their removal is they're probably just going to rely on their lands to do it for them. I think we're just going to submit like this. This is going to be a weird one. I think they're favoured in this matchup though. I think the green-white depths deck it looks better and better every time I see it, to be honest. So we have a lot of answers for Marit Lage. We don't have any of our combo plan here, so I think we can mulligan this. What does this do? We have answers for the thing, we can do the other thing. We got a lot of things here. One of these has to go back, unfortunately. It's a case of, do I want to send back the Esper Sentinel or the Retrofitter's Foundry? No, we send back the Cauldron, of course. What am I talking about? Because we can go fetch that. So we can play out the Esper Sentinel. And then a bit later we can start making colourless tokens. This is just going to get prismatic ended. So I don't really want to play this out until I've got enough mana. Or they've used like 1 or 2 prismatic endings. Okay, we'll start plains. Esper Sentinel. Just like playing White Painter again. And then that's a turn. Elvish Reclaimer. Sure. So the question is, should I plough this on site? Or should I try and get my... It's tricky, because this enables everything for them. I think because we've got the Retrofitters, we're just going to plough this on site. And then we'll play the Retrofitters out. And next turn we have options. So this should hopefully... Well, not hopefully, but this could certainly make them spend their turn removing it. But basically the green-white depths deck, when it has turn 1 Elvish Reclaimer, is incredibly strong. When it doesn't have turn 1 Elvish Reclaimer, it certainly looks a little bit weaker. Let's see. Collector Roof. Sure. That's fine. So we can remove this when the time comes. We will just cast this Stoneforge Mystic. So we have options. Do we get the Cauldron, which will rot in my hand if I don't have... I think we just get Colossus Hammer. And then we make the Colossus Hammer onto the Esper Sentinel and just start bashing. So we got Sagada's out here, so we can go 1-2 next turn. Okay. So next turn they get to Marit Lage. I see. If they have an Elvish Spirit Guide, they can Marit Lage now. The other option is that they can have a crop rotation. They can crop rotate out the Savannah for a Yavimaya, and then use Dark Depths for mana into the Thespian stage and making a 2020. It's something I could play around, but with these resources I don't think I have. I think I'm just going to go for it here and try and power out, because if I don't draw a plains next turn, then I'm going to be in the same situation because they don't have to go into it with my open white mana. And the longer this game goes on, the more likely they are to have things like Maze of Ith and all that sort of nonsense. So I think I have to just go for it here and hope they don't have the crop rotation, because it's not really going to get any better for me to try and apply pressure because I can't guarantee a plains. Oh, here we go. Okay, so they have the crop rotation, so it's the exact line that I thought they might get me with. Cool, 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 cool. I guess that is a 2020 and that is me dead. Oh well. It was a fun league though. Let's go and have a look at the deck. Alright, so this is the deck we played. Just at the end of the league I actually had an internet outage, so I couldn't record this immediately afterwards. So I've already sent the cards back to the trader by the time I'm recording this particular overview of the deck. Anyway, I was quite pleased with the deck overall. I felt like it had a lot of power, and it also could sort of stay in the game a little bit because things like Stoneforge Mystic is just a very powerful Magic the Gathering card. The weak links, in my opinion, were probably the retrofitters found in the Nettle Cyst. They got sideboarded out quite a lot and they didn't do an awful lot. I quite like the Mother of Runes, but I think you could probably go down to 2 and have something that's just got more raw power in it. So you're just trying to present things that your opponent has to answer. Because if you've got hands of like Ornithopter and Mother of Runes, you're not actually doing that much. So I think having more threats, because you don't really need to protect your Ornithopter that much. So I think you could probably tweak those. Maybe get some more Swords of X and Y. I think the best one to dodge removal is Sword of Red and White. I think it's War and Peace. But that's also the worst sword for abilities. It sort of just does damage, but doesn't actually sort of pull you ahead and draw you cards like Sword of Fire and Ice does. So it could just be something as simple as a Batterskull. But I think you need these like 3 mana ones. So they're castable, but you can still benefit off Sigarda's Aid and Pure Steel Paladin. Whereas you only want one of the big ones to cheat in with Stoneforge, I think, and this is the best one at the moment. And you have the Shadow Spear for life gain anyway. Other than that, the sideboard I thought was very simple and effective. It did what it needed to do. I don't really have any problems with that. So I'm definitely going to run this back in a future league. Probably changing these 3 cards out. But I will give it another run at some point, maybe in a week or 2, see how I feel. This was definitely one of the most fun decks I've played on the channel so far. But I think that's it for today. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if you could subscribe, that'd really help me out and means you don't miss any of the regular content I'm going to be putting out. Alright, thanks for watching, and goodbye.